terrifying morning for a Massapequa woman.
Yeah, she woke up to find a man climbing into her bedroom window.
And tonight, the intruder is still on the loose. News 12 Long Island's Tama Ponton has the story.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's what one Massapequa woman says about a burglary that happened in this neighborhood that she walks around in every day. Nassau County detectives say it happened on Franklin Avenue in Massapequa at 3:30 Wednesday morning. They say a woman woke up to find a man who was wearing a mask climbing into the window. 7 squad detectives say the woman screamed and kicked at him. He threw her to the ground and kept her from calling the police. People in this neighborhood say those details are frightening to hear and also rare.
You just tell yourself, like, oh wow, like, it's crazy how it happens here, you know?
But people say they are concerned about knowing what goes on in their neighborhood. Many of the houses on this block have home security systems and video doorbells.
That keeps us, like, secure, you know?
But despite all the security systems and video surveillance, police say the man who attacked the woman is still on the loose. He climbed out of the window and ran away. The woman's knee was hurt in the incident.
Worrisome. Hopefully they find him, you know, especially if he's attacking women in the house at 3:30 in the morning.
Detectives say the intruder was last seen wearing a black mask, gray baseball cap and sweatshirt, blue jeans, and tan work boots. If you know anything about what happened, you are asked to call Nassau County Crime Stoppers. The number is 1-800-244-TIPS or 911. In Massapequa, Tama Ponton, News 12 Long Island.
I really didn't want to make another video today, but it has to be addressed because we have to talk about what's going on in Massapequa. And very quickly, thanks to News 12 Long Island for covering the story on Franklin Avenue in Massapequa. Because honestly, I'm very scared right now. I'm literally scared for my friend who lives right near that area. He literally lives right on Hicksville Road. Like, he's right by Hicksville Road. He has to worry about this now. It could have been him. He could have been on the news. It's very alarming. I'm very worried now. And I'm going to talk about why I think MS13 is following American history and they're inspired by the old school Confederates from the 19th century. So anyhow, let's read this story from Newsday. So I'll clarify what Newsday clarified with News 12. So once again, Nassau County Police is searching for a man who said climbed through a window and then assaulted a woman before fleeing her home on Wednesday morning. I do apologize about that, everyone. I'll get back to that call later on. Nassau County Police said that the woman who was screamed and kicked the suspect suffered only minor injuries in the incident. A police account of the incident, which occurred about 3:30 a.m. at a home on Franklin Avenue, said the unidentified woman awoke to find an unknown male climbing through her window. She then screamed and kicked at the suspect, who police said threw her to the floor to keep her from calling 911. The man then climbed back out of the window and took off, Nassau County Police said. The suspect wore a gray sweatshirt, blue jeans, and tan work boots. He also wore a gray baseball cap and a black mask. Police have only characterized the incident as a burglary. Anyone with information regarding this incident, call Nassau County Crime Stoppers, 800-244-TIPS. All calls will remain confidential. So, John Valenti wrote the story from Newsday. So now we will read another story which is disgusting, what I had to hear this morning. This morning in Massapequa, Nassau County Executive Laura Curran, Police Commissioner Pat Ryder, along with Nassau County District Attorney Madeline Singers, held a press conference at Massapequa Reserve. And of course, this is very disturbing. Another body was found back in 2017. And, you know, it's very alarming. Very alarming. And they believe that these bodies were buried more than 2 years ago by the MS13 Gang. Detectives unearthed the human remains from a shallow grave about 4 p.m. Friday in the preserve about 100 to 150 feet from where an alleged victim of the gang was discovered in March of 2017. Police said the body has not been identified, but they believe they know who it is. One of 11 people murdered by MS13 members sometime in 2016. The remains have deteriorated over 2 years and will be tested with the DNA to confirm the identity. Authorities have returned to the preserve more than a dozen times searching for remains. Detectives have dug extensively twice searching for clues and found an indentation in the ground that was pointed by canine units. So I don't really want to read more into this, but it's very disturbing. Ugh. 3 reputed MS13 gang members were arrested back in February of last year. These brain remains of a Spanish male was found. Yes, Spanish male, we'll call him that. Julio Gonzalez, 18 of Hempstead, back in March 2017. And it's, again, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. So, Friday night, police officers and homicide detectives streamed into the heavily wooded 432-acre preserve cornered off at Ocean Avenue near Merrick Road. The sound of trees being cut could be heard in the evening, not far from the Nassau-Suffolk Greenbelt Trail and the preserve's large body of water at Massapequa Lake. Emergency Unit's 7 precinct officers and homicide investigators remain into the night. This is insanity. 11 victims have recently been found thanks to MS13 related crime activity. So, now I'm going to go into my theorization of why I think Nassau County is now being taken over by them. So I'm going to get into my reason right now. So here is the Confederate States of America. Now, whoever the Long Island MS-13 leader is, this particular individual must be following this route of terrorizing Nassau for trying to figure out where their territory could be next, because this is what they're trying to plot. So they've pretty much dominated the West Coast, right? That's all done with. Forget about California. They've dominated San Fran, LA, and San Diego. That's all gone. That's pretty much gone. So what Robert E. Lee did was, back in the 1860s, he wanted to make sure, and he was protesting President Abraham Lincoln, that he wanted to, pretty much go against the good guy. So the good guy being Abraham Lincoln, okay? The bad guy, Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee's plan was to call his own territory, and that's why we had the Civil War, and thankfully it was over with. No need to get into that, right? So let's fast forward now to 2019. It seems MS-13 is so fascinated with American history that now they've pretty much dominated a couple of these areas. So now let's go where their headquarters are. Brentwood, okay? That's where their headquarters are. I've heard over time that they have a separate headquarters in Central Islip, but I'm not too sure about that. So Brentwood, over the years, Brentwood's become a crime-ridden area because that's where the weed and whole of Long Island, and I've looked this up in previous years, even before MS-13 became a big deal, that most of the marijuana that was illegally found by Suffolk County narcotics officers, and we're dating this back to, let's go back to 2006, 2007, for a fair point. That's what the Suffolk County Police has always been fascinated with. They have this particular fascination with this area. Then came MS-13. They figured, hey, if we could distribute the weed to Nassau, we could do it in Brentwood. Alright? And then also keeping in mind, you have the other clip gangs that hang out in Hempstead. Okay? So now they're in cahoots with MS-13. So now their plan is to overrule those clip gangs in Hempstead. That's going to be their plan soon. They're going to want to pretty much dominate Hempstead next. They know Hempstead's their next area. So once they're done with that, they're going to go into Mineola possibly. Thankfully, not the area around Old Country. They're too afraid. So you know where they're going to go? They're going to probably end up in the area probably around, I would say, Jericho Turnpike. That area is going to get screwed. Old Country Road's going to be fine because, again, it's suburb. It's mostly blue collar, most of it. You do have your uppity area south of Old Country, which is considered to be Garden City, which I would say they're too afraid to go into Garden City. So Garden City's going to be safe. So let's see where you think they could possibly be going. Massapequa. That's a question mark now. You know why they're probably going to target Massapequa? Because they need to find a place that's on the Nassau-Suffolk border. And then what's next? Seaford. There's a preserve out there where they could bury their bodies. Wattawa. It's another preserve out there. Belmore. There's a lake further down Merrick Road where the ducks like to hang out. Merrick. There's another place where they could bury their bodies. It's possible. You know what they're probably going to take over next? Most likely Freeport. Maybe Baldwin. Guess where else they could bury the bodies? Rockville Center. And then what's going to be worse is, what if they go on the Long Beach branch next? What if East Rockaway becomes next? Oceanside. I wouldn't say Island Park. That's just too generalized. But Long Beach could be next. They could bury the bodies in there. Anything's possible. And remember, they found other bodies on the Meadowbrook. So pretty much, they're trying to dominate this island. Maybe the North Shore is next? Maybe? What's going to be alarming is, and I'll show you this, proof point. Because Pine Power LI was bringing this up, and it makes me shake. Trying to find it. Thought I could find it, but I guess not. That's their tattoos. Blue and white. I think John was mentioning me to this. White shirt and blue jeans. I think something like this. Possibly something like this. I don't know if John was stereotyping it, but I'm not too sure. It wouldn't be fair to, do it. But it is possible. They're coming up with ways now. They've been around for almost 40 years. Okay? I'm going to tell you who I blame for this. Why we're having this. And no, I'm not blaming Obama. Try to rant. This guy, Jerry Brown, the former governor of California. And I'm telling you who also made this worse. This guy, the current governor, and the lieutenant governor, Gavin Newsom. MS13 was like, you know what? Guess who we don't have to fear now? That's right, this guy. Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. This is what happens when you have Marxists who are taking over your states. You're letting MS13 control your area. And I'll make one more point. One of my closest friends brought this up for me, and I agree with his theory, that the only way you're going to convince people to vote Republican again in the governor's race, and we're talking about here in New York, in about 3 years, MS13 starts showing up in their backyard. The only way you're going to force the Republican to get back in. All right? Sorry to say it. Sorry to theorize it, but I just have a theory. I'm an American history buff. This is the Confederacy all over again, except it's MS13 trying to dominate the island. That's what they're trying to do. And I'll show you who's trying to be the hero. Who's trying to be our Abraham Lincoln. This guy, Patrick Ryder, the commissioner of the Nassau County Police Department. He's trying to play the hero. Well, sir, I commend you. You've been talking about this for a long time. Keep the fight going. Okay? We need to stop this from spreading. I know the middle of the island's already a lost cause. But I'm telling you right now, if you lose the North Shore, and you lose the South Shore to these gangs, it's not going to be good. I'm telling you right now. It needs to be stopped before it gets worse. Thank you all for watching.